This week on the It's a Monkey podcast.
Easy win. So let's just say you've been producing content for a long time. Go, instead of trying to produce more content and continue that never-ending cycle of updating stuff, go back to your top content, your top trafficked content of the last year and make that better. Easy wins. You can start to see 10, 20, 30% gains in views to that actual content just by updating it, adding images.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Kevin Garber. It is Friday, the 27th of January, if you're listening to the podcast. If you're watching us on Periscope Live, which we've been trying to Periscope these podcasts live as much as we can, it is Wednesday, the 25th of January in Sydney, Australia. Probably still Tuesday, the 24th of January, if you are watching the Periscope from the United States. A lot of time zones going on. My name is Kevin Garber. I am the CEO of ManageFlitter, the co-founder of ManageFlitter. With me, as usual, is my co-host, Kate Frappell, who is the design lead at ManageFlitter. Kate, thank you for joining us on episode 78 of the It's a Monkey Tech podcast.
No problems.
If you're listening to the show, you might want to, if you missed episode 77, we had a great interview with Dr. John DeMartini, who's a performance specialist, author, really interesting guy. Pop along to the previous version of the podcast. You can always go to itsamonkey.com and you can have a look at earlier versions of the podcast. We have 78 episodes, I should say. We got a tweet a few weeks ago from a chap saying he's just discovered the podcast and he's going to binge listen to them.
From the beginning?
Yeah, look, I was a bit scared to ask. I almost felt bad for him. But anyway, if you...
It'd be a good idea, actually. I should go back to number one.
I'm scared to listen to number one. I'm sure we've probably upped our game and production value and content and everything else. So we've got some interesting guests coming up in the next few weeks. We're really working hard this year to find some interesting guests. One of the execs from Basecamp, David Hannemeyer Hansen. I just want to check that. His Twitter handle's DHH, and I sort of always want to say DHH. He's going to be joining us. David Hannemeyer Hansen, he's the creator of Ruby on Rails, founder and CTO at Basecamp, formerly 37 Signals. Super interesting guy, quite outspoken, very opinionated, and very smart. He's going to be hopefully on next week's podcast, so stick around till then. Later on in today's show, Sujan Patel, who's a content marketer, we chatted to him about some of the latest trends and insights into content marketing, which of course is becoming so relevant. We'll chat a little bit later on in the show. And also later on in the show, we're going to play a startup minute. If you're a startup, small business, anywhere in the world, and you want a bit of free publicity, it's really hard to get going a business with nothing. Usually your marketing's on a shoestring. You want those links to help your SEO. We offer something, just a free little slot on our podcast. If you send in a 45-second audio telling us a little bit about your business, we will play it on this podcast. So before we get into the tech news, just going to hop over to the Startup Minute that someone sent through this week.
Hi Kevin and podcast crew. Thanks for the great show. I am Matt Hoggett, one of the co-founders of Prezi. We would love to share with your listeners a little bit about Prezi digital gift cards. Prezi is an app and website that solves the age-old problem of leaving your gift cards at home. With Prezi, you can buy, send, store, and redeem digital gift cards all from your mobile phone. We recently released scheduled delivery, and you can even get free gift cards when you refer a friend. You can choose gift cards from Myer, David Jones, JB Hi-Fi, Target, Kmart, and more. We even developed the Prezi Swap Card, which allows your friend to choose the gift card of their choice. Prezi launched in December 2015, and in just 1 year, we've become Australia's largest marketplace for digital gift cards. We started with 5 retailers and now we have over 40. It's been an incredible journey to date, and it's only been year 1. If you want to check us out, please go to www.prezzee.com.au. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's get straight into all the tech news this week. As usual, lots and lots to tell. Kate, Samsung, they had a disaster last year. I really felt bad for them with the Galaxy Note 7. The phones started catching fire everywhere, so much so that many airlines even said you cannot bring these phones on the plane. The phone was very much liked. Even Joe Pinto, who's a ManageFlitter team member, I can't even keep up with the roles she's got. What's her official title, Joe's?
So Joe's the bomb, the business operations manager.
Business operations manager. She loved the Note 7 and she had to send it back and all that excitement. And Samsung have come out and actually explained what actually went on. They set up a special research lab to try find out why were these phones catching alight. First, they thought it might be the USB. They thought it might be, some of other elements of the phone, like the iris scanner or the charging aspect. But what they found out it was actually the battery itself. There were some weak welding points on the battery. There were some other issues on the battery. And Joe's actually watching us on Periscope, and she actually just said she can't wait for the Note 8. Joe always has very specific opinions about things, which we love. So Samsung have come out and said, well, we can confirm they actually found what the issues were, which in one way is good. In another way, it's a little bit concerning that their quality control, this slipped through testing, quality control, and it also shows us that whilst these phones work so easily and continuously and generally problematic free, there's still a lot of complex tech going on in the background.
Yeah, I think it's very surprising that they didn't pick up on this earlier, and even the fact that they did 2 different types of battery. So they recalled twice, and the second time was permanent, but they've had to do it twice in order to get it right.
Hard stuff. And of course, it's actually impacted them significantly on the financial side of things, as you would expect it would. Samsung Galaxy Note disaster will cut operating profit by more than $2.6 billion in Q4 2016 and Q1 2017. Tough stuff. So, but look, they found the source of it. I think some people were even quite injured, right? Some pretty badly injured.
Some, I believe, yeah. But mostly for Samsung, it was just a timing issue. The Apple 7 and 7 Plus came out at a similar time, and then shortly after that, the Google Pixel. So everyone that sort of sent their phones back, Joe included, ended up getting the Pixel.
And Joe's got the Pixel. She's still got the Pixel?
Yes.
I remember she wasn't, we had her on the podcast talking about the Pixel a few episodes ago. She had mixed feelings. She said it was almost a little bit too raw in terms of, the developers love it because everything's native, but there wasn't even an alarm clock on it, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she had to find an app for an alarm clock, and it was just really bare bones with the native Android.
I suppose the benefit is you can choose your own, and you've got flexibility there to sort of pick your favorite functionality and stuff, whereas with Apple, you get what you're given.
Yeah. So anyway, let's see what the Galaxy Note 8 is, and I'm sure the CEO, having been a CEO myself, sometimes in bumpy times, I know it's not fun, and I'm sure that CEO is looking forward to greener pastures with less issues. So that's Samsung Galaxy Note 7 batteries. I stumbled upon an interesting article in the Scientific American. Sorry, no, it wasn't the Scientific American. New Scientist, which we'll link to on the show notes. We always link on the show notes to some of our news stories. And this really caught my eye. Brainwaves could act as your password, but not if you're drunk.
Yes.
Let's get
plenty
into
of complications.
But let's not talk about the drunk aspect for the moment. But how fantastic! I think we all have such password fatigue, and you can use password managers, which I recommend. Some people aren't even aware there are such a things as a password manager. If you're listening to the show and you use more than 3 passwords, which nearly all of us need to do, Google Password Manager, set it up. The good thing with the Password Manager is that you don't have to use the same password for every service. You can change them into a very strong password, which is good. You can change them frequently, and your password manager will help guide you around the process. And even interestingly, and there's enterprise password managers that companies can use to help manage sharing passwords with teams. So if you're a business, even with 2-3 people, use a password manager. It will help your life a lot. If a team member leaves, new team members join, helps it a lot. But that's passwords. But talking about brainwaves, wouldn't it be fantastic if they implement this brainwave technology that instead of going and getting presented with a password entry box, they display something on the screen and you just have to view it, and an EEG monitors your brain, and your brain signature will either check in or it won't check.
Yeah, so the EEG is a type of authentication. The problems would be that your brainwaves actually get affected by things like tiredness and fatigue.
And even exercise, right?
And exercise, yeah. Right. Although apparently you can recover quite quickly from exercise.
So straight after exercise, your brainwave signature changes, but then it comes back to the norm.
Sure. And then, of course, furthering from there was medication, drugs, alcohol, stress, even caffeine as well can affect your brainwave. So, I mean, these people are proposing as well that you can map out a template of your brainwave and test it in different circumstances, and then it'll create sort of they can use machine learning to make your signature a little bit broader.
I mean, they've already got it up to 94%, I believe. Accuracy on a standard measure, which is pretty, with accuracy rates around 94%. So that's...
Though alcohol can decline that to 33%.
Yeah, so it drops it quite a lot. Interesting. I mean, I think... the promise of a replacement for the password is just everyone's waiting for it,
Yeah.
And biometrics of some sort has always been the hope.
Yeah. Like you said, the password managers are good because you only have to remember one password. So one strong one to get into your password manager, and then everything else is stored. So you don't really mind that so much, but you still have to think about it. Whereas this EEG technology, you wouldn't really have to think about anything.
Yeah, I mean, even though the actual thought is what's giving you the signature in, which is...
Yeah, or they're presenting something that you can read or view, and it's your, I guess, reaction and thoughts to the stimuli.
Really interesting. So, it's... I mean, if they're already at 94%, there's not that much further to go to really get it to that 100. I mean, you do sort of need the 100%, right? Because, or at least the 99.9, because if you want to log into your Gmail and
how frustrating
you're having a bad day, and it's like, please relax. It's not matching you to relax. You're just wanting to get into your Gmail.
Anyone that tells you to relax is like a knee-jerk reaction to do the opposite.
Exactly. So yeah. I mean, it's. I think we're still laboured with passwords for a little while yet, but there's a lot of new options on the way. Anyway, that's the news for this week. Reminder, you can tweet us at Monkey Podcast. You can email us at podcast@itomonkey.com. Send us those startup minutes. We'll give you a link on our site, which is going to give you some nice options for your SEO. And we're going to take a short break and going to come back with our interview with Sujan Patel. And we're going to be talking about everything relating content marketing. So just stay with us.
Hi, my name is Dave Zarati, and I'm the Customer Support Specialist here at ManageFlitter. ManageFlitter is a tool that helps you work faster and smarter on Twitter. With ManageFlitter, you can clean up and grow your Twitter account. You will also get access to useful Twitter analytics, social content scheduling, and much more. Go to ManageFlitter.com and start your free trial today.
You're back with It's a Monkey Podcast. We talk about everything relating to entrepreneurship, tech economy, startups, online marketing, you name it. And I was lucky enough to track down a fantastic content marketer who I've been reading. His work's been popping up everywhere on Forbes magazine. And, I've really loved his article. And I reached out, and he's kindly enough to have joined us on this week's podcast. Sujan Patel, who's the co-founder of WebProfits, also the founder of a couple of SaaS startups startups, one of which is Mailshake.com. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited to talk to you today.
So, I want to share a little anecdote about how important content marketing is, which I think, is. I was thinking on the way here. Even though everyone's, it's a buzzword and everyone's involved with it. It's one of these things that not many people are actually doing well and doing properly and doing in a way that actually helps them. About a couple of weeks ago, I was Googling for some software to help us with some Periscope streaming. We're trying to get more into Periscoping our podcast. We got approved for the Periscope producer, where you can hook in different production software so that you can control your live streaming better. And I was looking for a piece of software that would help me live stream Skype in a much sort of more direct way. Anyway, I Googled probably for about an hour one day and about an hour and the next day. Long story short, I eventually found a fantastic piece of software that provides all sorts of bells and whistles, but it was so buried deep within the web, not doing any content marketing, not one blog article by them or someone else on how they can help you Periscope your Skype chats, etc. And they almost lost a customer in me, in that they were just absolutely undiscoverable because they had nothing on themselves or what they do out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem, right? I think everybody has this same thing. Well, one, it's 2016 going into 2017. The world is saturated with stuff. And so I think you have to stand out. I think standing out above the crowd requires you to do something different, more, being better, whatever that may be. There is no magic bullet, but it does require going above and beyond. I think people simply put stuff out there, or there's a lot of tools, and little tools or little companies fail to make it through the cracks.
They didn't even have the basics, though. They literally didn't. They didn't even have a couple of articles. I would have picked up something somewhere, and it was only via, I think, some obscure Reddit thread or something, incredibly deep. I think that they weren't even failing on the nuanced long tail side of it. So I think at the very least, I think the competitive environment just demands all companies to have some sort of content marketing efforts, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the simplest thing is, and this is a very excuse-free advice here. If you cannot create content, meaning you don't have the budget, the time, the resources, whatever, curate content. If you cannot create it, curate. Education, communication with your customers, and giving them more value to continue to deliver value as a brand is the number one important thing. Well, if you can write content and it could be your own words, even better. But there's plenty of sites and plenty of companies that have built an amazing kind of a network and connection with their customers or potential customers, and got branding and marketing from it by just sharing really good information. Because even the problem you pose in the beginning, finding great information, or coming across sites that don't have anything, finding information is still very hard. So having that is very important.
So tell us some companies, or give us an example of a company that is doing things right at the moment. Doesn't matter if it's a big brand or one of your customers or not one of your customers, and tell us why you think they're doing it well.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite companies is Airbnb. They've in terms of marketing, they're one of the few brands online, internet companies that have a personality. And they have a personality, but they have very good information. And they didn't get to where they are today overnight. So that one caveat doesn't have to happen tomorrow. But if you look, I was planning a trip to Barcelona with my wife, and I looked at like things to do and whatnot, and there's the TripAdvisors of the world, and there's reviews and the community aspect, but I don't really care. I want to know like more definitively what to do, and I don't want to read a book. I trust Airbnb because frankly, it's it's a newer way of getting around, or not getting around, but like traveling. And when you go to their site, they know people have this question of where should they stay, what should they do. So they have these really rich guides on things to do, places to eat, and it's very interactional based off of the location you're staying in or choosing. And so it's information like an ebook or content that follows you along. Love that. The guys over at Drift are another great company. They are I don't even know how to explain it, like a CRM or marketing automation / like in-app messaging. So kind of like Intercom. They're late to the game, a little later at least, but they have, when you engage with them on social media, or when you engage with their product, start a trial, they start to engage with you on social media. So it's like they take something that is a transaction, like starting a trial, or that's you attempting to do something, and they start turning it into a conversation. And so your trust level increases, your willingness to do something. And so those two brands I have a lot of respect for. And they're not the first to do this. The HubSpots of the world and many other companies have started this, but those are two companies I see doing a great job today.
I mean, where's this all going to end with, is it only the beginning, or is it the end for content marketing, in the sense of, the saturation point of, so much content being out there? Is it, what's 2070? What conversation are we going to having this time next year? Is content still going to be the underpinning currency of marketing on the web, or is it shifting in some sort of other direction?
So I think what you're going to see is a lot more focus on quality, and a lot of that regular content. So one, the bar is going to rise. You can't create good content anymore. You have to create great content, and that great content that was getting you amazing results, well, it's still going to work, but you got to step it up and not create amazing content, because it's been said. It's been said before. People are doing it, and because more companies are investing in content marketing, the bar again has just raised. So quality over quantity. I mean, that's been the same trend for a decade. But I mean it to the point where go spend 3 months or 2 months creating one piece of content. Now, combine that with curation, or combine that with something that you can do a little bit more regularly, to maybe nurture your existing audience, or kind of build up an audience where it's going to grow 1% month over month, kind of like a savings account, or something of that nature. But then you have these really big pieces of content, and I call them epic content. I think that's going to rise. I think video, I said this in 2016, but it's coming back again. Live video, like Facebook Live. Oh, geez, I don't even know what the Instagram. I think it's Instagram Stories. I should know this. Snapchat.
I think they just call it Instagram Live, but I also might be under correction as well.
Yeah, honestly, Instagram is great. I don't use it personally as a channel for any of our brands, because we're in the B2B space. Or WebProfits does, but I kind of keep my nose out of things and let them do their thing. Let the social media guys do their thing. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I think there's the quality and the bar is going to rise. Old school formats like YouTube. YouTube is such a big. It's the second biggest search engine, so don't forget about that. And I think it's not about the page views anymore. It's about that relationship. And so all the live channels I just mentioned, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, reach is great, but engagement, the connection you're going to have. So it's very much content that is closer to the middle of the funnel in the consideration stage. So it's awesome that you can get something that, a piece of content that probably doesn't take that long to create, to actually get buyers closer to making a decision. Again, videos, UGC. So I just gave this advice to an e-commerce company. They're a motorcycle company. They're a potential client of ours. And if you're a motorcycle rider, this is specifically KTM, so it's like a dirt biking and off-roading and things like that. if you're into that, you're pretty avid. Like you're pretty not avid. You're pretty
Passionate.
passionate and enthusiastic about the sport, right? You're a hobbyist. You're doing this for fun because there is no need in the world to use a dirt bike for commuting, right? Like that's not a thing. You do it as a hobby. And so people buying parts and doing all these things, they are doing it for fun, and they're going to share their experiences. In fact, they already are sharing every time they ride their dirt bike. And so what we recommended to them is when people buy parts from you, when people buy things from you, encourage them to share your photos. And in fact, like just like Amazon does it, and a lot of these large players like Yelp do this with UGC for their big companies, you could do as an e-commerce owner, asking your customers to send you pictures of the part, like a real life picture. Maybe maybe they won't post that on Instagram, but maybe you can post the person riding the bike. Maybe they bought some parts, or a new kickstand, or they did a new trick. It's people want to hear from that you have live customers, and that when somebody can click through an Instagram picture, that's real. Same advice I gave to same thing one of our other clients is doing in the travel space. They do all these exotic vacation, and you can post the best pictures of an Africa tour, right? And you can see an elephant and blah blah blah, all this amazing stuff. But like, is that the customer or the potential customer is thinking, is that really the experience I'm gonna have? And so it solves a big friction point. So all these types of content, they don't just fit in the top of the funnel. They're gonna fit into the consideration, kind of the purchase. They're going to make a bigger influence on and actually the decision.
Is Google getting worse at what they do? I mean, they seem to have moved from to sort of a new age algorithm that uses machine learning and some other technologies. But I've been struggling for the last maybe year or 18 months or so to find what I want on Google, and a lot of old content's been surfaced sort of on the first page of results. What's your view with what's actually, I mean, Google's obviously what underpins a lot of all these content marketing efforts. What's your view on what's going on with Google and where they're going to?
I think it's for the better, honestly. You're right in the sense that like there is a lot of old, content that like just kind of is floating around. It's getting kind of stale. And I think what's happening is that, the reason that's happening is because that the world is the internet world is moving much, much faster. And so something that I would have considered relevant from 2013 is just like, that's old. I don't care about what happened in 2013. There was no such thing as like a whole new platform, right? And so the internet age is just speeding up. But I think they're doing it for the better to counter SEO spammers, the old school link building. I still think, by the way, that stuff, link building and SEO still work. They're just harder, and you have to do it. You have to incorporate it into all of your marketing. But ultimately, they're making it harder to game the system. And I think there's gaps along the way that they'll probably patch.
And so you mentioned if you can't if you don't have resources to create new content, perhaps you can just at least start curating content, which, is actually incredibly useful because, I almost feel like we've reached peak content on the internet. Even in the startup world, there's just so many fantastic videos and fantastic blog posts and fantastic conferences, and you're just drowning in this information. And if the people that curate it well, it actually provides a huge amount of value because they let you, cut right through it and just, let you use that 10 minutes you have very well. But what other, not well known, I guess, techniques or strategies, everyone, knows about putting some blog posts and some videos. What other quick wins have you seen that can work for companies, whether they're e-commerce or SaaS or even sort of bricks and mortar or professional services?
Yeah, so easy win. So let's just say you've been producing content for a long time. Go, instead of trying to produce more content and continue that never-ending cycle of updating stuff, go back to your top content, your top trafficked content of the last year, and make that better. Easy wins. You can start to see 10, 20, 30% gains in views to that actual content just by updating it, adding images, you get, let's just say you get like 5,000 visitors in a year, right? Which is not that much to your best piece of content, or maybe even 2,000. Well, if you were just to add some social sharing elements like click to tweet, or even just a share bar, more prominent, or add a quote and make it an image, or again do all of these things, those 1,000 people or 5,000 people that come to your site, the odds of one or two, the percentages of just a handful of people sharing it or spreading the word is going to cause this kind of uptick. You're going to get a little bit more people, and more likely with a lot more mixed media, embedding videos and adding images and shareable elements to the article, it's also going to help you rank better for whatever keywords it's ranking for, and get more shares. And so it gets that ball rolling on old content. In fact, one of the things I do is I take that my best content, my old content, and I'll go double down on it instead of just updating it. If it's a good piece of content, or if it's a good topic that has potential for a very big keyword, or let's say I can target a mid-tail keyword, I'll go pretty much rewrite the whole thing, make it even better, or I'll change the format up. So I already know, let's say this topic worked well, I'll go create a video on it, I'll go create images on it, I'll go create a slide share. So all of these different things you can do based off of what has already driven traffic to your site. So that's number one. Number two is it's about relationships. So this is not necessarily a quick win, but once you have them, once you have your network, it's these relationships that are going to give you these quick wins. It's the people on your side that are helping you promote your content or advocating your cause or whatever it may be. What I mean is, if you're an e-commerce site, and let's just say you're in the fashion space, right? You're selling beauty products, or there's this company that just sells like these Little Mermaid blankets, and you just put your feet into this like Little Mermaid like thing. It's it's a pretty cute thing. But if I were in their shoes, I would go and connect with all the other fashion and like home decor bloggers and whatnot, and just see how I can help them, and make sure you just build these relationships with people that when you need help, you don't have to ask for it. So it's not fast to build these relationships, but I would recommend doing this. And one of the things I've done over the years is do a lot of these things. And I actually did this through going offline, and connecting with people at conferences, hosting dinners, and every place I would go to for vacation or fun, I would email all the top people there and a few of my friends, and just host a small dinner. No agenda, nothing. And over time, I ended up connecting with hundreds of people, and they brought more people. And again, like just by breaking bread with people, now I no longer have to go and promote content for most of my brands. I just publish it. And because enough people are aware of it, I don't have to do anything. So it's a shortcut that works out in the long run.
I think people forget sometimes about that offline world. We've had good success as well in New York with some events and some workshops, etc. And even though it's nothing compared to the thousands that you can pull in online, a lot of the time the people that do come to those are very strong influencers, or you can form relationships for joint marketing efforts or aspects like that. So I think people really shouldn't forget about those easy offline sort of initiatives that can feed very nicely into your brand and your marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think a lot of companies are doubling down on events and conferences. And so there's a lot of things happening offline. And so soon we're going to go back into the age of like, let's go back online. So I think it ultimately comes down to where are open pockets, whether it's content, SEO, Facebook ads, whatever, Facebook Live, where are open pockets where your competitors suck at that you could dominate, right? And what can you get into early? What can you get into be the best? How can you build an audience on any one of these platforms? I have a friend who is absolutely crushing it. He's a blogger, writer, and on Snapchat. And I started maybe a year, 6 months, 9 months after him, but his dedication, his commitment, now he's getting invited to like all these major technology events like CES. He like live covered like a Wall Street Journal conference, and so like he became an influencer. Does he, no offense to this guy, I won't name him. Is he the most credible person or the most experienced person in the space? No. Does he dominate a channel? Yes. And he has something that these publishers don't have or these people don't have. And so he has that following on that one channel. And so, again, focus on things you can be the best at and open channels.
I think also, people need to realize that magic happens when you stay consistent with something, So if you do want to blog once a week and you stick with it for 6 months, and it is obviously of a certain level of quality, some magic will start to happen. I think some people give up too quickly on their initiatives, whether it's building an Instagram account, building a Twitter account, building a Snapchat. You do have to push on through with that, consistency. And then things, all sorts of indirect benefits flow on through.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about consistency and time, right? The guy who came in first, the guy the person who's been doing it for 10 years, they're not winning because they did some magical thing or they did something awesome this year. They're winning because they've done it for 10 years, right? And then you should think about what can you do to start making the biggest traction. I think with content marketing, this is my biggest pet peeve is people give up too early. People have unrealistic expectation of results in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. I think 6 months is like the bare minimum. You're going to get an ounce of results. I think 12, 18, 24 months, year 2 essentially is when you're going to start to see real results. And I think most people give up. But to me, I just think of it as, hey, less competition.
Yeah, I think most people don't stick with things in life, and I think there's always a competitive advantage, with people that stick with things. I like your point as well when you say repurpose content that's working. I mean, in a sense, if you look at traditional news outlets like TVs or newspapers, when there's a major story, they know people are interested in that major story, right? And they take every single angle that they can possibly find on that story, and which is essentially repurposing the theme of something that someone's interested in. So it's similar with online. If there's an article that people are loving, I love that idea of just repurpose it. And I think it's a great idea to take your blog article and do a video of it or chat to someone about that content in that blog article. You've already got the bones of it. So that's definitely a nice takeaway for us here at ManageFlitter. So that's a really good one. Sujan Patel, I really appreciate your time. You seem to be a very, I don't know how you juggle having a services company and as well as building the SaaS companies. Do you still love what you do?
Yeah, every day. I love what I do. My rule of thumb is I can't, I refuse to do anything I don't love. And so I love the mix between the SaaS companies and the services, because on the SaaS side and the software stuff, we test, we poke, we prod, we break things in terms of marketing tactics. And when they work, when we scale them, essentially we can apply it to the services side.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put all your details on the show notes, and people can link through and they can read some of your articles, which are fantastic, and follow you on all the social platforms. And really appreciate your time in joining us on the podcast. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great.
The It's a Monkey podcast is brought to you by CheckDog. Use CheckDog to easily review and monitor your website for spelling errors, broken links, and broken images, all with the push of one button. CheckDog can also automatically monitor your website and notify you of newly introduced spelling errors. Go to checkdog.com/podcast to receive 50% off your first month subscription. Checkdog.com, helping the world's leading websites keep their content error-free.
So, Kate, that case study that I gave in the interview was really a real case study where I just struggled to find the software that I could plug a Skype into a Periscope or a Facebook Live. And it was incredible how hard I had to just peel into the depths of Google to find it, and they've got a great piece of software. That's a fantastic piece of software. And when I emailed in, they gave me great support, and they've obviously worked hard on their product. But just a couple of blog articles, a video, something somewhere about it.
Yeah, it would have been super useful.
Which would have saved me 45 minutes and probably, how many extra customers. And, the thing, what I like about content marketing is that, as opposed to maybe old school advertising, content marketing forces you to really think about your customers / your users. It forces you to share a little bit of yourself. It forces you to share a little bit about your company. It's actually, if the future of marketing is content marketing, I think that's pretty nice, as opposed to just TV ads or something that just interrupts you. Speaking of interruption, but they actually call that interruption marketing. TV ads, interruption marketing, where you're enjoying something and because they've got you captive, while you're enjoying this, we'll shove an ad in, as opposed to the more sort of engagement type marketing where you're answering someone's question. They have a question, and your piece of content answers that.
Yeah, and the barrier to entry for these sort of written articles is so low now with all the different platforms you can publish for free. And people will seek answers, and that's the type of thing they want to find. They don't want to find a TV ad or a really spammy type of video. They want to find something that they can read and really dig their teeth into.
Yeah, and answers their question. It's all about adding that value, and there's no escaping that it's hard work. I mean, we're a small company, and we try to churn out blog articles and put podcasts together, and we try and hope that someone somewhere, obviously within our target market loosely, is going to find something that we do interesting.
Yeah. I mean, another interesting point he made too was easy wins, which I thought was quite interesting. Recycling old content, and
I love that. Yeah,
and I guess from Twitter, for example, retweeting other people's and maybe just adding your own comment to it, for example.
I think I mean, Sujan made the point of a lot of people complain they don't have time for content marketing, right, or writing blog articles. Curate.
Yeah.
Right. Curate. Fantastic. Really great idea. Curate, just say my favorites or my most interesting Twitter accounts or my most interesting services or people that I love to follow on Twitter, or even just, what you do in your day-to-day life on the business side of things, wrap that into a blog article. So if you're changing accounting software providers and you spend half a day researching them,
talk about it.
Talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. Write a little article, even just bullet points. I'm looking at those, thinking of those. I think to change that headspace, and I'm really even trying to get this internally at ManageFlitter to, really look at everything as an opportunity for a valuable, high-quality piece of content. Particularly sometimes it's just a mindset. It's just 10 minutes. It's just 20 minutes. And obviously all that time adds up, but it's not hours and hours of having to prepare video and script a video and get production value in, and you can repurpose. If you're going to do a webinar, upload it to your YouTube channel,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many channels now. There's just, heaps of audiences out there and customized as well, people on Facebook are, you can treat them a little bit differently to people on your YouTube channel, but even so, that video can cross between the two.
Yeah, so you can repurpose it, but there's no escaping, that it does take time, and I've sort of, even though content marketing, the techniques and the philosophies have become so well known, like everything in life, I think there's still so much opportunity just to do it consistently and rise above your competitors.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
it's sort of like eating healthy. Like everyone knows they've got to do it. Yeah,
it's hard
and
to
exercise.
Put into practice. Yeah, I mean, another thing too, which a lot of more visually, visually inclined brands, for example, cameras and design programs, they they will get their customers to submit their work or their photographs, and then so someone's done all the hard work for you. You just need to put it together.
And another great point is if you can bring your users into it or your customers into it, and even if you're a cafe or, especially a consumer-facing company, and run competitions and get them to photos and write in reviews that you can use. And so, there's a lot of little opportunities for content every day. And it's what the web's been built on from day one, has always been about content. And Google are this, rule the world because they help us wrangle this content. And even if you're a very small business, even if you're a personal brand, I always tell my friends with consultancies, just write, just learn how to write. And it's definitely the one skill that, the one great thing about the internet, it's created a resurgence of the written word, or the importance of the written word. You're probably too young to remember, but actually before the internet, there was a phase when, I don't know, when TV was big, or something, when kids only watched TV and teenagers only watched TV. There was a phase where the written word, it became a bit of a dying art, and now because of the internet and because of blogging and, even if something as silly as a Facebook update or Twitter status, you still have to craft a sentence.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you look pretty ridiculous, right? It's pretty obvious, right?
Some of my my favorite articles lately have been circulating on Facebook are where people have curated like shocking spelling errors or, typos that just sort of get read the wrong way, and they put them all into a single article, and like it's hilarious. I love them.
Many years ago when one of our other products, CheckDog, we did some PR around it, and what we did is we scanned the websites of the top universities in the world that was listed by, I think there's a listing of the top universities in the world, and we scanned their websites and we ranked which had the most spelling errors.
Oh.
And do you know what the most commonly misspelt word on universities' websites are by far?
Don't know.
Take one guess.
University?
Bingo.
Oh, really?
Right.
Great.
See, if you're listening to the show now, Kate's such a great team member because she gets it. A lot of common sense.
Wow.
Yeah, so university, and we made it onto radio and TV, and because it was quite controversial. I think one of the universities, Duke University, which is, I think it's an Ivy League university, they were the top of our survey in terms of bad spelling errors. And
but where's the error? Is it just
everywhere.
like in a capital letter, or are they swapping letters around?
Swapping letters around.
Really?
Yeah. It probably still, we should update that survey or redo it. But, it was just proving the point that our service, which monitors websites for spelling errors and broken links, is of value, especially for a university. And spelling, we developed that product because scanning web pages for typos is hard to do manually.
Students should invest in that.
So
before they hand their essays in.
Yeah, so that was that was interesting, but and there's also even Twitter or Facebook is a form of content marketing, you know, as well. So update those regularly or link to your blog, or but commit a little bit every day, and you can find help pretty cheap as well. There's journalist students, right? That are looking to build their portfolio, and a lot of them are really smart and really capable, and put ads on some of these freelance sites. So you can for pretty cheap start churning out some interesting articles relating to your niche.
Yeah. You know what else? One of my favorite apps is Medium, and it's great for like creating communities and publishing content into these sort of groups that are pre-existing, and then people who are already interested in your topic, they're ready, they're reading that.
And it gets bumped into their algorithm. And
yeah, even just as a publishing tool, Medium's, they've got like big text and they've got autosave. You can put all these drafts in, and then and they connect it with your Twitter account as well.
And of course, Medium is started by Ev Williams, who's one of the founders of Twitter. So he knows, very, very smart guy. So
It's a great platform.
I've been creating a list of blog topics that I'm going to get going with on Medium and trying to carve out some sort of more personal type topics on reflections of entrepreneurship than directly related to ManageFlitter.
Oh, nice.
So
just on like your account or ManageFlitter?
No, it'll be on my account, and maybe we can link it from the ManageFlitter blog or something like that, But
cool.
It's all on the push this year for interesting content, And next week, David Hannemeyer Hansen, DHH from Basecamp, creator of Ruby on Rails, hoping he's going to be on next week's podcast. I saw he did a Q&A on Quora. Quora does these live Q&As.
Quora is also a really good platform.
Quora is also great point, right? It's also content marketing. Answer some questions.
Yep.
You can't hardcore sell there, but if you get seen as a thought leader in your space, like I've read some amazing pieces by psychologists and authors, and you read this and it gets upvoted, and then you're like, wow, you are so smart. And guess what you do after that? You go into their profile and you see what they're about, and you click through to their website or their Twitter page.
Yeah,
so,
or even just see what else they have to say about other topics.
Exactly. So I'm pretty sure they drive, some business through. I have actually reached out to 2 people because of their articles and asked them a little bit about more what they do. So absolutely. Quora. So he did a live chat on Quora, and we'll be chatting to him next week. I know almost everyone uses Basecamp, right? It's
I think so. I really like it anyway.
It's huge. It's huge, and it's one of the few companies that the founder of Amazon invested in directly a few years ago, and they Basecamp are very anti the Silicon Valley model. That's the only funding they've ever taken. They were essentially bootstrapped, and I wouldn't say they're anti the Silicon Valley model. He's a bit critical. Him and Jason Fried, his sort of founder, they're a bit critical that that's the narrative of that's the only way it can be done.
Right.
They want to create more discussion around the fact that you can bootstrap or you can be based anywhere in the world, as opposed to Bay Area, raise money, build and go nuts and get crazy valuations and So, but they're different metaphors. There's a lot of ways to approach life and to approach building businesses in life.
Yeah, it's good they promote the variety though. And the different options, you don't want people to think that there's only one way to do something.
Yeah, and also, Silicon Valley has become, there is some criticism that a lot of the companies that get funded in Silicon Valley are by founders that are from a certain pedigree. A lot of them have gone to the top universities, and the tight networks, and obviously very smart and very hardworking. Don't want to take that away from them, but hard for an outsider, right? Hard for someone who doesn't tick that box.
To get in.
Mark Zuckerberg, went to Harvard. Okay, he didn't finish, but he went to Harvard, and he went to one of the top high schools in the country.
Yeah. Well, they say it's who you know, not what you know.
And it is, but our industry, we try to make it more egalitarian. It's all about access and opportunity. So it's great that people like the Basecamp chaps are just saying, don't obsess over that one path. There's many different ways of doing it. They're based in Chicago. I think David at the moment is in Europe. So
nice.
Lots of ways to do it. If you're listening and you've always wanted to start a business,
do it.
Do it. Anyway, that's episode 78 of the It's a Monkey podcast. Please follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. You can check out our show notes and hop over to iTunes and give us a review. It helps others find this podcast, which helps us. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.